Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this month's Connecting Adults Degrees When Due meeting for New Jersey. Delighted that Jennifer, Jason, and Callista can join us from the IHEP team. We're going to be spending some time talking about some of the reporting requirements. So I'm going to stop talking. I'll turn it over to Jen, Callista, and Jason.
Great. So I will just start by some quick reminders, and then Jennifer, if you want to do any reminders about some quick some webinars, and then from there we'll turn it over to Jason to provide some technical assistance for the July reporting period. So I know Moses is one of my good friends who pops in on my coaching office hours. So this Friday will be our first Friday. This Thursday will be our first Thursday coaching office hours, with that being July 1st. We did move to a Zoom link. So I sent everybody a reminder yesterday from all my states that link has changed for the office hours. So it'll be the same, just general format, but I just wanted to remind folks that link has changed if they want to pop in. Again, it's optional. You don't have to come, but if you want to ask any questions or any follow-ups, I'll be available Thursday morning. And I'll continue to be available during July. I am going to take some time off next week, 4th of July week. So, and I think the IHEP offices are also closed next week. So that is the only time where we won't be accessible. But as you guys are progressing to any reporting by the end of the month, if you need anything in addition to what Jason is providing today, or I know a lot of people are heavy into the re-enrollment process. So if you feel like, hey, we need a nudge, or we're getting this type of feedback or issues, will be accessible throughout the summer to support any needs you might be having with that. Any questions or issues you're running into in terms of the work? And I know we just have Union County and Mercer on at this point, but if you have anything you want technical assistance on, either regarding degree audits or re-enrollment, feel free to just share anything. Elizabeth, Liz, how are things going for you?
Things are okay. Can you all hear me okay now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. We are we're balancing a number of different priorities right now. It's this way for everyone. So we've got the end of the semester things that we're trying to wrap up. I am talking with my team about the need to ensure that we've got this going for July. And we've coordinated with the people who are going to be the communications people as well to try to reach out to some of these students. I think this project is really valuable and it makes a big difference. And I will tell you, even as we look at declining enrollment, we are actually doing a better job in getting some of our former students back. And I think a lot of that is because of the communications that we've done as part of this effort. So I do think it's valuable. I think it's important what we're doing. And right now, the communication staff is busy reaching out to students who are at risk of being dropped for non-payment for summer 2. And once they complete that, then they'll be reaching out to the degrees when due population, to do some follow-up with them. So we have I will say it's been in fits and starts, because there are different times we've been able to pour more energy at it, and other times we have to kind of pull back a little bit. And currently, as I mentioned, we have a few things that we're wrapping up for the end of the semester with program reviews and data books and just wrapping up reporting requirements. But we will be working on this a little bit more. And I know the deadline is firm. I saw the email. So we're advancing the ball. and we'll continue to do so. Okay.
Yeah. And you guys have been doing a great job throughout of just really putting effort into that work. So kudos. And we perfectly understand that you can't go hot and heavy on every initiative every minute of the day. Everything has its seasons. And so appreciate how you have to work through the planning cycle on that. So I think you'll be just fine.
Thank you. I mean, I will tell you, the hard part is going to be getting at some of the information that is requested related to non-academic barriers, just trying to understand what else is going on. Like, we can identify in my team, we can identify what we know based upon the data, but some of it kind of reaches beyond what we have at our fingertips. And so it does require the communications, the attempts to reach out to those students. I'm hopeful that those communications attempts will also incentivize the students to return, because it's certainly to their advantage as well as to the institution's advantage to get them back. So it's been worthwhile, and we will continue to move in that direction. So yeah, thank you for checking in.
And Moses, I know you're more on the data side, but do you have any things or questions you have outside of reporting?
Yes, I did, but you answered all my questions, and we are moving smoothly right now. So at this moment, I don't have any question. But if I have, I'll show up this Thursday. This Thursday.
Okay, Thursday. I was getting people confused. I can't wait to start my vacation next week. Everything is happening Friday, but Thursday,
Yeah,
July
Thursday.
1st. Great. And I know Moses and his team have been doing good work with adult re-enrollment, but also dipping their toe into reverse transfer. And so looking at some of that stuff. So appreciate how you guys have been looking at that too. All right, Jennifer, you want to do any kind of updates, reminders?
Yeah, I just have two really quick updates, and then I'll yield to Jason for the biggest update around reporting. But we do have a webinar coming up on July 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to put the registration link in chat. It is going to focus on debt forgiveness initiatives as well as debt resolution initiatives. We're highlighting a few DWD institutions, so one being Kalamazoo Valley Community College and their debt forgiveness initiative, another being Cleveland State University, I believe it is, in Ohio. And they did some work with their HERF2 funding to resolve student debts. And then we'll also hear from someone from the Detroit Chamber about their regional work doing debt forgiveness at Wayne State and a few other institutions. So I would highly recommend that. And then the only other announcement is that the degree mining tool is now live online, and I'll also put the link to that, and you're welcome to register to access that. Of course, everything's free, and I know we've previewed it a few times, but it's basically various strategies to improve efficiency around degree auditing. And I'll yield to Jason.
Right. Well, thanks, Jennifer. And hello, New Jersey. It's good for those of you here. And it sounds like you're recording this, so others might watch it later. What I'm going to do is first pull up my PowerPoint and share my screen. Make sure I do that here. So give me 1 second. Presumably I have share screen ability. I do. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint? Yeah, I'll put it in presentation mode here. So I'm just going to walk through and highlight a few things to think about as we approach the July reporting deadline. We're sort of attending all state meetings and sharing sort of the same information. This might be redundant if you've attended some of our webinars in the past, but also we thought it was important to just emphasize some of the pieces that are really specific to this reporting deadline. So hopefully it's a good reminder, and then we'll have time for questions at the end, but I don't think this will take more than 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll run through this, and feel free to pop a question in the chat. And Jennifer, Jacob, Callista, if there's a question that comes up in the chat. I'm working off one screen today, so I don't have my chat open, but if there's something that comes up during my presentation, feel free to interrupt me and ask it if it's helpful to ask during while I talk here. So first of all, our deadline is the end of the month. And so I think New Jersey is all fall restart, right? So that is the interim report. If you're not sure which metric numbers to report, they're all detailed in the reporting portal. Really, tab 1 has all of the specific reporting, sort of the metrics associated with the interim report, and it's essentially tab 4 and beyond, as well as any updates to tab 1, some of the information about your policies and practices. So, but if you have any specific questions, we can answer those, but they're all tab 1 in the reporting portal is really the place to find all of that information. So essentially it's for adult re-engagements, it's all of the metrics except the re-enrollment data, since re-enrollment we can't really measure until the fall for many colleges, although you might have some students who, depending on when you re-engaged and reached out to students, you might have done that back at the end of the spring and they could have re-enrolled this summer, but we're really expecting the majority of those re-enrollment numbers to come in the final reporting deadline in October. Just as a reminder, and I know we've said this before on prior webinars, but just a reminder of the language that's being used, and in order to really report accurately for the eligible students and the potential completers, it's important to do a degree audit. So the outcome of the degree audit means that students are either meet all academic requirements for a degree. Some institutions are finding many hundreds of students who have all of these credits and they actually have the credits required for a degree. And so they're already eligible for a degree. Or the potential completers, the students who don't yet meet the academic degree requirements. And just a reminder that of the big universe of interest, students then fall into one of these two reporting categories after, but it really, a degree audit needs to be done in order to accurately identify those two, identify and report those two groups. So this leads to a question that we've talked a little bit about in prior webinars and provided some guidance, and hopefully I think Callista is really your go-to person, but the question is, what if you target a subset of your universe of interest? Some institutions are doing that for lots of reasons, and really your coach Callista is the best person to talk to sort of think about the trade-offs of either of limiting your implementation to a subset of your universe of interest. She'll sort of help you think about the strengths or the benefits and the limitations of that. So we're happy to also answer any questions as it relates to reporting. But what's most important that we talk about is to adjust the reporting template. So I'm going to toggle over real quick to the reporting portal, to the template in the reporting portal. But really it's what we want you to do is, if you do, you've already reported the universe of interest, and if you find yourself sort of focusing on a subset, we want you to just sort of simply add a column into tab 4 and report the demographics. And so we actually described this on tab 3. So let me just go over to the portal here. Here it is. So this is Ocean County. So there you go. You can see their numbers. But essentially what we want you to do is add a column right here between F and G, and you can label it something that makes sense, sort of the target population or subpopulation for your universe of interest, well, we know what it'll mean. We want you to add a column between F and G. So that's sort of the popular, let's say ocean, they, for whatever reason, they only focus on 1,000 students. They only conduct degree audits on 1,000 students. And so we want to know the population that's actually and the numbers that are actually impacted by the work that you're doing. So if 784 students didn't get a degree audit, you didn't do outreach, we want to know what that denominator is. That's what's sort of most important. So that's our advice there. And again, we can help field any questions, or if you're not sure what to do, feel free to reach out to us and we can help walk you through it. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the barriers. I think Elizabeth, you sort of mentioned this. We absolutely acknowledge that this is probably the heaviest reporting that's associated with the initiative. It requires the most nuance, and really, it's the outcome of the degree audit, or maybe some follow-up communication that you get from students. But really, we for eligibles, these are the non-academic barriers, right? Because eligibles, they meet all the academic requirements. Potential completers is both academic and non-academic. So you all may be familiar with these. So I'm just going to talk about them at a high level, and we can answer any questions. But as a reminder, again, academic barriers only apply to potential completers. Course credits remaining, institutional requirements to complete a degree. So these could be things that are really unique to your institution. Like let's say, there's an internship, there might be a specific, writing requirement, but then there are also things like general education requirements. And our third point here really is that you label these in the reporting template, so we sort of know how to interpret the academic barriers. And when we go through the validation process of the data, we might need your help interpreting some of this information. So the more information that you can provide on the front end, the better. And really, we encourage you to, every institution, institutions have different capacities to extract information post degree audit. So, use your judgment to report what makes sense, and be as specific as possible, and including if you find additional sort of academic barriers that aren't in the template, we encourage you to sort of nuance that to the extent that you can. The non-academic barriers, these, again, we provide a list of these in the reporting template that we'd like you to report: financial holds, incomplete paperwork, and then, et cetera. And then other specific barriers unique to your institution. To Elizabeth's point, some of these, there's a lot of non-academic barriers that students experience that might prevent them from completing, many of which, we don't measure or don't have at our fingertips. Many of these are data points that the institution has, but it does sometimes take different systems talking to each other in order to extract those data. Again, we understand and acknowledge that this is not necessarily a light lift, but as we've, I think, hopefully communicated in prior webinars, the benefit of having this information, not only is it useful for data collection purpose, but a lot of institutions are, they look at their data and say, it's sort of, it's really enlightening to see sort of the percentage of students sometimes that are just have a financial hold. And then of course you can dig deeper and look at how much those financial holds are, or other barriers that you might document as a part of this process, and can help lead to hopefully, discussions and policy changes, and ways to think about, removing those barriers for students. So again, just the point being that we recognize this does take time, and which is why we're sharing, and talking to you, well ahead of this July deadline to make sure we can answer any questions. But that hopefully, once you do collect this, the value of this information, I think, can really help your re-engagement efforts. Okay, so just a couple more things here that we want to emphasize. We've shared this in prior webinars, but just to highlight, that it's important to, as you're working through the universe of interest, conducting degree audits, sort of documenting what the academic, non-academic barriers are, that you've got some way internally to track the outcomes of students. And we created a very simple Excel spreadsheet that we recommend, but there's lots of other ways we've seen institutions create, access databases and forms. So there's lots you can be really creative, but this also helps with, the final reporting, tracking the degree, who gets a degree or who re-enrolls, who gets a degree, etc. So this is a tool that can be used at the student level that will ultimately let you report at the aggregate level. And I'll just toggle over here and show you. Here is the example that we have shared, and I think this is in the LMS, and if you don't have it, we can get it to you. But just simply, who these students are, and whether they're eligible, they have the requirements for a degree, or they're a potential completer. And then each of these tabs basically has each of the reporting categories, right? The non-academic barriers for eligible students, and ultimately if they get a degree or not. Potential completers, it has a lot of the same information, but it has the academic barriers as well as the non-academic barriers, and ultimately whether they re-enroll and get a degree. And you can also use this tool to sort of track the outcomes of your work beyond the life of degrees when due. Again, a very simple tool. There's other ways to do this, but something that this is a tool you can use to help with your work internally. So there was your demo. And then finally here, I talked a little bit about this, a couple of these already, but just some suggestions for adapting or customizing the reporting template based on your sort of what you're doing locally and your local implementation. We already talked about the first one, where you add in tab 4, add a column to identify the specific students, a subset of the universe of interest. Again, we recommend you chat with Calista about that. Second, if your institution is conducting degree audits for multiple associate's degrees, which we have seen, it's possible that, of course, a student might be eligible for one degree and a potential completer for another degree, or maybe they're just, they're potential completers for 2 degrees or 3 degrees. The reporting portal doesn't allow you to report outcomes for more than 1 degree audit. So essentially our advice is, choose the degree audit outcome that makes the most sense. So for example, if you assess students, if you conduct degree audits, let's just say against 4 different associate's degree, choose the one that makes the most sense. It could be that it makes the most sense to, choose the outcome for which the student is the closest, the degree for which the student is the closest. Let's say they're only 6 credits away from Associate of Arts, but they're 20 credits away from Associate of Science. So select the Associate of Arts, but use your judgment. I'm not sure a lot of institutions are doing this, but we just provide that advice in case this is your what you're doing at your institution. And then finally, if your institution is interested in auditing for certificates, we have advice on this and really specific instructions within the reporting portal in tab 3. But essentially, we sort of say, okay, in tab 4, add a column and label it certificate completers, and only report the numbers and demographics for certificate completers. We don't want you to sort of report, eligible and potential completer data for certificates. Only do that for the associate's degrees or bachelor's degrees. I'm not sure, I don't think we have bachelor's degrees in New Jersey, but, and then we want you to duplicate the completion tab and report the credential data. Again, this is specified within the reporting portal, but those are the broad recommendations or solutions for adapting the template. With that, thanks for all your work. And a few of us are available to field your questions or pick up the phone and troubleshoot an issue, but happy to pause here and answer any questions you might have about reporting.
I just wanted to, I'm glad you picked up on that. Well, thank you, Jason, as always, for making things clear. And just wanted to follow up as you were pointing towards Elizabeth's comment about non-academic barriers. So I want people to, you know, kind of remember that short list of non-academic barriers being kind of like institutional non-academic, so meaning financial or discipline. But a lot of times people also have, okay, I withdrew previously because I had childcare issues or something like that. And you may be gathering that in your outreach just for your own purposes, but that is not the level of detail that we expect. I think there's been a rare case where somebody had withdrawal codes, you know, related to that, and they pulled in that data, and that was just really a bonus. So I wanted to make sure that that nuance was clear.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. That's a good point. And I think, you know, there have been cases of institutions, you know, sort of surveying, whether it be via phone or some response, trying to identify, like, collect really valuable data about, you know, what challenges students experience. And yeah, we don't expect that. But if you are doing some type of systematic data collection, you can report it. And we're happy to work with you if you'd like any more assistance with that.
Jason, Callista, Jennifer, thank you so much for all of this today. We'll see one last time if anybody on the line has any questions, but I have a question, Jason. I anticipate that since we're recording this and people are going to watch this within a week or two, Jason, Callista, what would you say would be best for you if people have questions to get to you by what date to make it feasible that they can complete their reports on time?
I mean, we'll be available right up until the reporting deadline.
Okay.
In our experience, a lot of questions come in like the week before. And so we're a little bit busier that week. So the sooner the better. I mean, we will be available, but depending on, you know, the level of detail, it might require a phone call. So, you know, I'd recommend, you know, if there are any big questions about, I'm still not sure what to do, like, you know, I'm looking at my calendar, I'm thinking at least 2 weeks before, by July 12th, reach out to us so we can get ahead of any big issues.
Got it. Great. Thank you. Elizabeth, Moses, Richard, any additional questions?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again on the next one. I think it's sometime in July before this, before the report is actually due. But nonetheless, at least tentatively scheduled right now, that might change. But nonetheless, thank you all so much. We appreciate it. And we'll see you again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks.